Well, that was bad. That was bad on a lot of fronts, mainly because we gave up two pretty easy points that could have helped us get home ice advantage against the 31st team in the league. The worst team in the Western Conference by far. I mean, Seattle's close, but not that close. A team that was tanking on purpose. And yet we couldn't beat him. Even on Kirill's birthday. It was Kirill's birthday and we let him down like that. It felt like Mikko Koivu's retirement night. A big night, big celebration, good stuff happening. And then we lay an egg on the ice to a team we could have beaten. The only good news to come out of this is that St. Louis also lost their game. So luckily, no harm done. But still, it would have really been nice to win this game because the day I'm recording this is the same day as the Flames game. When we play the top team in the Pacific Division, and then we play our last home game against the top team in the Western Conference, Colorado. Luckily, both those games are at home, but so was this one. So hopefully this game felt like a wake-up call for the rest of the guys. And maybe it was a blessing in disguise to lose this one so we can win our next two. Let's just hope that happens. So for this game, it was Karel Vejmelka in net for the Coyotes versus Marc-Andre Fleury versus in net for the Wild. Fleury, who had played in his third start in this game. And I saw it as I'm looking over the coverage on NHL.com. He's given up 11 goals. Yeah, it was Fleury's third straight start. He's been 2-1-0 in his past three, and he's allowed 11 goals in those 3 games. Hopefully he bounces back from it, but that's 3 straight games putting Fleury in net. So I'm almost certain that Talbot will get the start tonight versus the Flames. But it was Fleury in net for this game against Karel Vejmelka, who, I might add, is good for the Coyotes. He is a good goaltender that the Coyotes, I'm glad they kept. And because I live down here in Arizona, I had to watch this game on the Coyotes broadcast because NHL or ESPN Plus blacks out in my region. So I had to go up to my parents' house up in Scottsdale and watch the game from there while also working on homework at the same time. So I was trying to multitask as much as I could, and that's also part of the reason why this video is pretty late. But regardless, I was still feeling confident. I was still feeling like the Wild, get a nice, good win, something they could, almost ride into the playoffs with, because again, this is an even team. And I was hoping, they kind of rest their starters a little bit, since I kind of figured that Foligno and Greenway wouldn't be back. Well, it turns out they were back in this game. The entire Grief line came back. The whole reunion, everybody was back in. Greenway was there, Foligno was back in, and the Grief line got 2 of our 3 goals in this. So they came back and they produced. They did what they had to. Now, Zuccarello wasn't playing tonight, and neither was Jared Spurgeon, so keeping those 2 out of the lineup for that game. But frankly, I was expecting Kevin Fiala to kind of go off in this game because leading up to this game, he had 23 points in his last 8 games. He was on fire. He has been rolling, absolutely rolling. So I'm thinking, okay, he's going to continue to do that. But as the first period starts, it's the Coyotes who are jumping on pucks, taking advantage of things, and just overall outplaying Minnesota. It doesn't look good at all. Minnesota is just kind of sitting back on their heels and kind of letting the Coyotes take control of the game. And it's embarrassing to have that happen, to have the 31st team in the league embarrass you like that in the first period. Luckily, it didn't lead to too much struggling in the first for Minnesota. Obviously, Arizona had the better of play, but luckily, we managed to score the first goal. Ryan Hartman gets his 34th of the season, assisted by Boldy and Kaprizov with 8:55 left to go in the first. Basically, a long lead pass to Ryan Hartman leads to a breakaway, and he's able to get a top shelf blocker side. So, we're up 1-0. That's good. As the game continues to move along, Minnesota continues to get multiple chances on the power play. Arizona is shooting themselves in the foot repeatedly in the first period, and yet Minnesota can't convert. Mainly because Arizona is just sticking them up at the blue line, which is kind of the reason why Minnesota's power play sucked when it did. We can't seem to get the puck into the zone, which is kind of what you need to do if you want to set it up to score. So Minnesota goes 0 for 3 on the power play in the first period alone. Shots were 8-8 after the first period ended. Minnesota was still up 1-0, but Arizona essentially controlled play. Then, in the second period, Minnesota feels bad for Arizona and starts to give them power plays. Arizona still doesn't capitalize. And eventually, we give them a 5-on-3 with 12:37 to go in the second period. Luckily, they don't capitalize on that either. Then, the Coyotes gift another power play opportunity back to Minnesota, and that doesn't capitalize whatsoever. But eventually, Anton Strawman is able to score for the Coyotes. 18-15 into the second period, because it was at this point where I was working on homework and my notes were becoming unreliable for me right now. So he gets, oh Jesus, there we go. He gets a 7th of the season, assisted by Nick Schmaltz, Barrett Hayton, and it's 1-1 into the second. And again, it's the similar story where Minnesota is getting outworked by Arizona. And I wrote down here, we need to wake up, bro. We need these points. And that is the last of the notes I had because I desperately had to get some homework done. But of course, I stopped taking notes as soon as the craziest period of the game starts. And it starts with some poetic justice for the Coyotes and some cruel irony from Minnesota. Taking the lead, the first lead of the game for the Coyotes, 20 seconds into the third period, is Jack McBained. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Jack McBained was the guy who would not sign with Minnesota, so we traded him to the Coyotes for future considerations. Wouldn't you know it, he signs with the Coyotes, and he gets his first NHL goal against us in our building after he wouldn't sign with us. 20 seconds into the third. And it gets worse from there because Antoine Roussel scores about 3 minutes into the third, and now it is 3-1 Arizona. Luckily, Minnesota is able to wake up. Joel Eriksson Ek gets a goal, his 26th of the season, about 5 minutes into the third period, and then just like 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds later, Eriksson Ek gets his goal at 4:51 into the third period. At 5:15, Marcus Foligno gets his 23rd of the season. So there's the grief line just coming in and just kind of saving this team when it needed to be saved. And then Minnesota kind of waking up, kind of getting back into their groove, but Arizona will not go away. They're still fighting like rabid dogs. And Travis Boyd manages to score on the power play for them, 10:22 into the third period. This call would get challenged by Minnesota for offsides, and they'd lose that challenge. So Minnesota would be down a man as well, but luckily they didn't manage to score on that. So it's still 4-3 Arizona, and then Minnesota gets a chance on the power play. 13:09 into the third period, Barrett Hayton slashes Ryan Hartman. So Minnesota has a chance on the power play. But once again, nothing. Nothing ends up happening on the power play. And eventually, Minnesota has to get desperate. They have to pull the goaltender, and Phil Kessel gets his 8th of the season at 18:41 into the third period. And by that point, I have my hands over my head like this, and I'm just like, oh, God, why? I could see losing to like Colorado or Calgary, but Arizona? The team that is tanking on purpose? Really? At home? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And then I look, yeah, that definitely explains it. Not only did the Coyotes beat us in the faceoff dot, 54% to 46%, Coyotes were 1 for 4 on the power play. We were 0 for 6 0 for 6 on the power play and beat in the faceoff dot, and ultimately just didn't try. So, frankly, that kind of sums up what just happened in that game. It was brutal to watch, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't watch most of it, because it just did not look good for a good chunk of time. But luckily, as I said, hold on. What do you need? Okay, leave them on the counter. All right. But like I was saying, it's lucky that St. Louis managed to lose their game as well. So, no harm done. But again, it would have been real nice to win this one. Would have made things a little bit easier. That's okay. That's okay. We still have 2 games left. St. Louis has 1 game left. St. Louis's 1 game is a team that just got eliminated from the playoffs and has nothing to play for. In Vegas. Yikes. While we get the 2 toughest teams in the Western Conference in Calgary tonight and Colorado tomorrow. It's a back-to-back to finish our season, which could ultimately decide who gets home ice advantage. Now again, if St. Louis loses and we manage to get a point out of one of these teams, we just need to finish with more points than St. Louis. That's really it. If we finish tied in points, St. Louis gets the tiebreaker because they have, I believe, 7 more regulation wins than we do. We can't make up that statistic, that tiebreaker. So we have to get more points than they do. Winning this game tonight goes a long way for that. Goes a long way. Even an overtime point helps out. Okay? Just at the very least, get a point tonight. Send it into overtime. Win it there. Okay? You get 2 points there. That makes things so much easier. Because all you need is 3 points and you get it. 3 points gets us home ice. That's really all we need. Just 2 wins or a win and an OT loss. If we can manage to do that, and again, I'm doing this assuming that St. Louis beats Vegas. If St. Louis does not beat Vegas, then all we need is a point, which is pretty easy to come by. But I'm going to assume that St. Louis beats Vegas. If they do not, Lord God, hallelujah, has blessed us with Vegas actually playing up to their potential for once, which is weird to think of. It's odd that I'm cheering for Vegas to help us out after they screwed us out of, a long playoff run last year. Like, it's weird. It's weird. NHL playoffs are weird. It's good to not see them in there, though, because, they deserve to get sent back down to earth every once in a while. Every time, frankly. Vegas runs their team they run their team like a Vegas show. They don't run it like an NHL franchise. That's the problem with Vegas. People are wondering, well, why does everybody hate Vegas? They run it like a Vegas show. They treat the players like cattle. If they're not good or they treat them like actors, frankly. If they're not good enough that night, get them out. We don't got time to train these guys. No. They got to be ready on the spot. That's why they go for big names like Jack Eichel, Robin Leonard, Max Pacioretty, Mark Stone. That's why they went for big names and then just gave away people. Nick Suzuki, young guy they had, given to Montreal. Now he's a good career at Montreal. Peyton Krebs, the guy they traded to Buffalo. He's doing pretty good in Buffalo. So is Alex Tuch. A guy that they didn't feel highly on because, he wasn't a big name in a way. He wasn't Jack Eichel. Look at him now. They missed the playoffs. And it feels good. It feels good. Especially Pete DeBoer, because screw him. Right? Now we are giving Fleury a real team to rally behind. Not one that sucks like Chicago, but at least they somewhat treated it like a hockey team. They did treat it like a hockey team. They treated it way better than Vegas did. Don't ever tell a player they've been traded via Twitter. If anyone ever becomes a hockey GM, just rule of thumb, try to let the players know beforehand if you're going to trade them instead of having them figure it out via Twitter. That just looks bad. It looks like bad PR. And Vegas has never really been good about the PR thing since their Twitter admin is so damn cocky and just sounds like a 12-year-old girl half the time. Where was I going with this? Anyway, that is it for this video. It's a short one, but frankly, we got to get on to Calgary tonight. So let's make sure we win against Calgary tonight, and let's make things easier for ourselves. We do that, we'll be fine. But like I said, that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. Like it if you did enjoy it. If you want to see more of these videos, subscribe because I've got a ton more down there. I will try and keep up as best I can with the Wild through these tumultuous finals. Trying my best, okay? It's going to be tough. Also, watch the NFL draft tonight because I'm really hoping the Vikings get a cornerback out of that. But yeah, watch the Wild game. Make sure they actually beat Calgary. Watch the NFL draft. Make sure the Vikings draft somebody who's good. Hopefully a cornerback, Derek Stingley if he falls that far. And I will talk to you all later. Peace.